All right, this design is for Project 3A of the Mark Rober Creative Engineering class, where we have to come up with some design ideas to reinforce an existing habit or a good habit. So with this design, we figured what better habit with everything going on than making sure that you have a mask or face covering with you when you go out into public to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe. So as you leave the house, typically you always look to grab your keys or else you can't go anywhere. So we're looking to create a device in between leaving the house and grabbing your keys that would alert us to make sure that we have our masks. So there's a few different devices for this project. Go from right to left here. Of course, we have our user walking from inside their house to outside to go to the car, wherever they may be going. So see here we have a proximity sensor, a power supply. We have kind of like a user interface box here. This is going to have a couple buttons on it, as well as house our electronics, such as an Arduino, maybe an Adafruit Audio FX soundboard, things of that nature. Have a either a strobe or a light, and a horn or a speaker. And we have a mask box here, which is going to have some face coverings behind a closed box. And then, of course, we're going to have our car keys or our house keys hanging here as well. So all of the enclosures will be either 3D printed or use a CNC machine or find some other way to make those. Of course, we're going to purchase the buttons, the power supply, and we'll work all that stuff out a little later on. But to go through the sequence of operation of how we envision this working, we're starting on the right-hand side here. So the user approaches the door, and as the user approaches the door, a proximity sensor picks up on the user and detects the user. So once that proximity sensor detects, the strobe or the light will turn on, and a horn or a speaker will go off. I'm not sure, we'll have like an audible horn, or maybe even a sound effect, or maybe a voice saying, "Do you have a mask?" or something like that. That's where using the Adafruit Audio FX soundboard may come in handy. And then it's going to prompt the user to go to the input box and press one of two buttons. Now there's going to be two options on here, and the first option is going to be have a mask. So if the user already has a mask, there's no need for the mask box to pop open to dispense a mask. So the user can just press the have a mask input or the have a mask button, and the audible alert will stop, and then an audible message will play, something like "Have a safe day" or "Have a nice day," something like that. Again, using the Adafruit soundboard. And then the system will reset for the next user to come through. Now, if the user does not have a mask, they can press the need a mask button, which they would press that input, and then the mask dispenser will likely pop open a door and expose a box of masks or a stack of masks, or however we decide to design that. The user can then take a mask and then close the door, and then once they have a mask, they can then press the have a mask button, which will then stop the horn and the strobe from going off, and the user can then grab their keys and go on their way. Another iteration of this is, maybe we could have an end switch on the door. If the person needs a mask, once they grab it and they close the door, maybe you could hit an end switch, and then it would open the contacts for the strobes and the horn, or however that may be. So that way they just don't have to do an extra step of pressing this button. But again, there's gonna be a lot of 3D printed parts here. For the actual buttons themselves, we actually jumped on Banggood and found some like old school arcade style, Pac-Man type buttons you may use in there, and we saw some options where you could have them light up, multicolors, maybe green for ready and red for armed, or something like that. So this is our basic concept for the mask minder, so we can make sure that we never forget our mask again. So we think we have a pretty good sequence and a decent idea in our mind, so we're going to go ahead and start prototyping.